Hi, and welcome to Pillow Talk with Angela. I think it's always a good time to pillow talk. And when we do, I like to bring the best of the best. So, my friend is back here tonight, y'all. You know, he's a licensed family and couples therapist, he's an author, talk show host, podcast host, media personality, and there's probably some other things that I haven't brought up, but he could tell you all about it. Please welcome my friend Tariiq Omari Walton.
Hey, Angela, what's happening?
You are welcome back to the show, and
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
It's always great to be here with you. You always have such a great time with you. So thank you for having me.
thank you. You know, we all have a good time. I mean, the comments are always really great when you're here because you give really good advice. I mean, that's what you do. So thank you.
I try. Thank you.
Yeah. So you've been doing well. Your whole setup is beautiful. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Home studio, had to change things around a little bit just to jazz things up. So just try and bring it. We're actually live streaming my podcast now. So I want to make sure that everything, the visuals look correct. So
nice. Tell us the name of that podcast.
It's called Kings of the Heart. Kings of the Heart podcast. It's myself and Dr. John Hart, another Black male couples therapist. And we talk about all things relationship. We want to make sure we're not just giving you advice, we're giving you some good insight into all the things that go into having a healthy relationship.
Yeah, that's why you're on my speed dial. I don't need your colleagues. I just need you.
And I thank you. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And when I thought about this topic, I actually saw this somewhere.
Okay.
And said, oh, that's an interesting concept. We're talking tonight, everybody, about the 90-day rule. And I don't mean the 90-day where she holds off for the sex for 90 days. The Steve Harvey 90-day rule. Mm-hmm. Actually, he didn't invent it, but he made it pretty popular.
Right.
But we're talking about another 90-day rule where a couple will agree that, okay, let's just try this for 90 days and reevaluate at the end of 90 days. We'll determine whether or not we want to move forward. You know, hey, what do you think?
First, let me say, as somebody who doesn't really like rules to me seem a lot like diet fads. It's like you're going to try it out and see if it works. And, you know, it may work briefly and may work for one situation, but it's hard to maintain some sort of consistency. So I'm not one for rules. I'm more along the lines, I believe that you have to try things out with that specific person. You may have some ideas of how you want things to go. When you have hard, fast rules, it can quickly go differently than you expect. So I'm not really one for rules overall. With that said, I understand the concept. I get why you may want to reevaluate where you guys are after 30 days. Yeah. But there's so many different factors to consider that to just have that hard, fast rule again, it may not go the way that you expect. So the idea, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go on.
I can say, so the idea, it seems, is that we get together and let's see how things are as we're dating for 90 days, 3 months, right? And then we can sit back and talk and figure out whether or not this is going somewhere. But what about if it's a long distance relationship and you don't get to hang out that often? You get to talk a lot, but you're not hanging out that often. What if you're only seeing a person on the weekends or every other weekend because someone has a child and they don't have the opportunity to hang out as often as somebody else? You know, what if you are seeing someone on a more regular basis? Are you going to have the opportunity to get to know them much deeper and a lot better than someone you're only seeing every other week? And so there's so many factors to consider. Is 90 days really the proper amount of time you need with this particular individual and this particular situation to figure out whether or not this is going to be a lasting relationship?
Interesting. You know, I'm on both sides of the fence there.
Okay.
Because, you know, I probably am not the only one who can look back on past relationships and said, you know, early on, I probably should have known that I shouldn't have put as much time into this relationship as I did.
Right.
And so for people who have done that, maybe it's not a bad idea to say it gives you an out. It's like, you know, I don't know, depending on your personality type, you might, you know, go along to get along or whatever, even as it relates to your relationships. I'm not saying I'm like that.
Right.
I've been willing to give it a little more life than maybe it deserved.
Right. Well, let me ask you, when you made the decision to do that, what was it about that person that made you want to give them more time than it probably deserved? Was it a super amount of attraction? What was it about them that made you want to stretch it along?
Honestly, it was more than once.
Well, each time.
It's a sign. No, no, no. I mean, actually, it happened a couple times.
Right.
One, I did enjoy the person's company. I
Mhm.
enjoyed hanging out. We were fun,
Right.
but it should have just been a friendship.
Yeah.
And, that would have been a good time for me to say, really love hanging out with you, but, maybe not romantically. Maybe,
Right.
let's reevaluate what kind of relationship this is. And, again, both of these were when I was really young
Mhm.
and, probably didn't have the maturity to really speak up for myself,
Right.
like I do now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
of course.
you know what I mean? And another time was I had spent so much time not dating anybody, and when I finally got into something, I just didn't wanna be by myself,
Yeah.
to be honest, and I
See?
was just hanging out to have companionship.
Right. Right. See, a number of different factors played a role in why you allow these relationships to extend longer than they probably needed to.
Yeah,
And I
have you
think those are the things you need to take into consideration because what happens is again, even back then, if you were to say, I'm gonna give this 90 days to sort itself out, there still may have been things that you either decided along the way that, okay, well, I'm still going to extend it. Maybe 90 days is enough because I do enjoy the person's company, and that's the big thing too. If you
yeah,
enjoy the person's company, but you may not necessarily see a future with them, beyond just having this good time together, then when is the proper cutoff? Are you
mm.
saying that the time that we spend together, just because there may not be an extended future for us, that it was a waste of time, or were we just really just enjoying each other's company?
That's a
So
good
sort of lock into that 90 days again. Those hard, fast rules don't
yeah.
apply to every situation.
So do you think it's just that the 90 days isn't enough time? And if that's the case, do you think you make it 6 months, or you just don't give it a time?
Well, let's first evaluate why people say 90 days in the first place. And I
Yeah,
think there's some research to show that typically when you're dating somebody, it takes about 90 days, about 3 months, maybe one whole season for you to really begin to discover who the person is. And for that person, whatever they're showing you, all that excitement, all that infatuation that's going into the initial stage of the relationship, for all that to kind of dry out, so that who they really are really begins to show up after those 3 months. So
yeah.
there's a little research to show that that's what typically happens. So that's where the 90 days comes from.
Mhm.
The thing about that though is, and this is the main point about this too, about these rules. When you go into these rules and you're letting people know that this is what your rule is, that I have a 90-day rule, or we're going to make an agreement that at the end of these 90 days, we're going to evaluate where things are. Once you do that, you're giving the person basically a roadmap of how to
Yeah,
navigate this for the next 3 months. So if I
yeah,
could just hold on to whatever it is I'm doing right now, the love bombing, giving you everything, if I could just continue doing this for 3 months, then we'll be in a relationship and I could just cut back. I could just relax after that. And
right.
that
No, and that's
again,
the part where I don't like it because, again, the representative, knows how long to stick around,
right,
you know?
right.
But then there's nothing to say that, all right, after, 100 days, you can't just say, "You know what? You've changed."
And I
I don't know. I mean, I think, yeah, it's kind of like the next, this is just the next thing that people are talking about.
yeah,
And it's interesting because it does put, I don't know, it puts a timeline on something that maybe you can take seriously. Like, let's
mm,
say it's later on in life, and you
mhm.
just don't want to spend a whole lot of time wasted on people that you don't want to have a future with. And you
But
say, you
what's
know
wasted
what,
time?
I'm older and I'm just going to give you 90 days.
Mhm.
So let's see what
But
happens.
what's wasted time? That concept by itself is problematic for me. What is wasted time?
I think when people say that, especially women, because, the whole beauty thing, and, for women,
Right.
that seems to be attached to it.
Mhm,
And, or, women who want to have children,
mhm.
there seems to be a timeline on when certain things are going to happen.
Right.
So the wasted time is when you're spending it with people that aren't the one, aren't going to be that one that you end up, if
Mhm.
marriage is your end game, the
Right.
one that you're going to end up marrying. That's what I mean. Like
Right.
learning as quickly as possible that, okay, this person wants to just date forever. They don't want to ever get married, or they don't want the type of future that I want. Or maybe in some ways, some things you don't know until you're actually spending time with people. You don't know how they're going to, gel with your friends and family, or you with theirs.
Right. Right. And so what that really speaks to are the boundaries that you're establishing at the beginning of the relationship. You know, it's not so much about telling the person everything, but at
Yeah.
least knowing for yourself what your boundaries are. So you might even say to yourself that, I'm going to give this 90 days and see how things go. Again, a lot of factors play into that. How much time are you spending with the person or communicating with the person to figure out, who they are? So you have to take that into consideration too. But the idea is, what kind of boundaries are you setting for yourself when it comes to establishing a healthy relationship with somebody? One of them may be, I know for me when I was younger, dating women who had children, there's no reason for me to meet your child if we're not in a committed relationship. There's no
Oh.
reason for me to attach myself or the child to attach themselves to me and for us to have a relationship if you and I aren't having a relationship. So taking that into consideration, how much time do we need to spend together before we figure out who we are before I even meet your child?
Yeah.
Right. And so when you think, so you have to start establishing boundaries. You have to have your own boundaries as you're moving forward. So you don't need the 90 days. You just say to yourself, look, if I realize after a certain amount of time and conversations that I'm having with this person, they don't seem to be on the same page with me and wanting to have something more in depth, more caring and longer lasting, then I'm going to move on. You
Yeah.
just have to set that boundary for yourself. You don't need a rule for that.
Right.
Right.
Do you like anything about the 90-day rule?
Again, I understand what it is, but it's just so simplistic. I think when you look at these rules people trying to set up, even when you mentioned the 90-day sex rule, it's just a
Yeah.
very simplistic idea. People are trying to compartmentalize how to do things when, again, it doesn't fit every situation.
Yeah.
So you have an idea. Again, have your idea. Have a good idea of what you want to do by setting proper boundaries for yourself in your own mind, and even maybe communicating some of those with the person. But they're all going to depend on how you guys are interacting overall. Again, if you're only seeing a person every other weekend and only for those 2 days, those 90 days may not be enough. Or you're only seeing the best of that person because you're only seeing them on the weekends. Once you start spending every day with somebody, now things start coming out.
You're
A
right.
lot starts coming out during that period of time that you may not see on the weekend. Same thing with long distance relationships. I've had
Traveling together.
say again.
Traveling together, things come out.
Oh my gosh, living
Yeah.
together. Spending day after day with someone, you'll see a lot more about them than you will if you're only seeing them on occasion. Right? Long distance relationships. I've had clients where they've been in long distance relationships, all excited because they're getting the best of the person when they're seeing them, move to whatever city they're in. Actually, I think I've been in this myself. Move to whatever city they're in, and then realize, oh, this person is coming with a lot more baggage than I
Yeah.
realized. Oh, this
Yeah.
person isn't who I see on those weekends when they come to visit me. I'm
Right.
getting to see who they really are and how they're living, and this isn't for me.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. It's a whole different game when you're in someone else's environment.
Right.
Right.
So how
Yeah.
does a 90-day rule, how do you fit that into a 90-day rule? You can't.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
depends on the situation. Yeah, I mean, it could even be a situation where you don't reveal to this meet that it's 90 days. I mean, depending on you, and you know how you are in relationships, even though they're all different, but you're the consistent factor.
Mhm.
That maybe you say to yourself, depending on what you're going through, I'm
Right.
going to give this 90 days, and then I'm going to just reevaluate with myself, to be honest with myself. Is this something that I want to pursue? As I said early on, when I was younger, I spent too much time in certain situations, and I know I did.
Yeah.
And so for someone like younger Angela, that would have been a great thing
Yeah.
for me to just have, maybe just for me,
Mhm.
because like you said, when you announce it, that this is what we're doing, that
It's a
color.
goal for them now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The other thing, the one reason, going back to your question about is there anything about the 90-day rule that I like? Again, there are a few things I do understand. I guess I would say I appreciate about it. The idea too is to learn how to pace yourself in your relationships, right? So many of us, because we're so excited by the person and what they're presenting up front, that
Yeah.
emotionally we're just jumping all in.
All in.
We're in the pool. We're in the deep end of the pool at this point, right?
Yeah.
Just diving headfirst into it. So emotionally, we're already there. So you know what? Even that, if you have the 90-day rule, if you're the type of person who just jumps full in, you give your all at the beginning, 90 days won't matter because you're already so emotionally invested. But if you look at the 90-day rule as a way to kind of pace yourself around how much you're going to invest in the relationship, then it may be helpful. It's a matter of saying, okay, I really do enjoy spending time with you. There's more for me to learn about you. There's more for me to learn about us together. And
Yes.
so before I really invest a lot of my emotional energy into this relationship, let me just see how things are. So it may be a good way to slow you down,
Hmm.
but that's probably the only thing I would say is helpful about having a 90-day rule.
Yeah.
So pacing
I'm
yourself,
surprised. What'd you say?
learning to pace yourself. That's probably the only thing.
Yeah. I'm surprised you found something that you actually did like about it.
Right, I was reaching, I was digging deep in there looking for it. It's like there gotta be something in there, right?
Thank you for that. I love it. I always appreciate your perspective. And, whenever I want to just really get a rounded view about something, I always love these conversations with you because I hadn't thought about that perspective of,
Mhm.
you tell this person, male or female, this is what we're doing for 90 days.
Right,
And yeah, it gives them a timeline. It's like,
right.
okay, I know what to do
I can just
for
hold on.
this amount of time. If I
Mhm.
can lock you in that 3 months, then it's all gravy.
Yeah, and I wonder, this is the other thing too. At the end of the 90 days, if you say, okay, well, we've had a great 90 days together. I think we're both in the same place. We're on the same page. We want the same things. Let's go ahead and do this. Is that to say that now you're locked in, that you can't find your way out because you've made this agreement? Is this a contract now? Hey, look it, we made it the 90 days. You said that we're going to be in a relationship. Are we in a relationship now? Yeah, sure, we're in a relationship. That means we have to stay in it. Is that
No,
what you're
because
saying?
what you're doing at the end of the 90 days, you're both reevaluating. So you
Right.
determine whether or not do we keep dating?
Mhm.
Are we just exclusive? I mean, I think it depends on the situation. You get to make your own rules.
Right. But like I'm saying, even if you agree that, okay, we're going to continue dating or that we are now exclusive, does that mean that you can't back out of it further down the line if you discover more about the person that you don't like? Are you saying now that, okay, well, we've made these 90 days, now
Yeah.
we're exclusive, now I'm stuck with you?
Okay.
Is that the idea? That's ridiculous.
You're right.
Right.
Maybe you say, all right, babe, let's just sign up for another 3 months.
Right. Right. We'll just reevaluate every 3 months. See where we are every 3 months, until we either die or we're married or whatever.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's different, but
Yeah.
keeps you guessing, keeps you on
Yeah.
your toes.
Just another fad. Just another fad.
It is. But it's interesting though. It is
Yeah.
interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
different strokes for different folks. I think some people might find it useful for them.
Just create healthy boundaries. Just create healthy boundaries. Have a good idea of what you want, but recognize that's going to change with every person. Just because you have the list of things that you're trying to check off, it's going to change, hopefully, as you're with somebody. It's going to evolve when you're with somebody as you're getting to know them. So whatever's on that list, hopefully, will change. So just having proper boundaries, a good idea of what you want and what you're not going to take will be helpful in terms of setting up the proper kind of relationship that you want, not just because you have a rule that you're trying to stick by. Get rid of those rules, man. Get rid of those rules.
I love that. That's great advice. And that is going to be the bottom line. That's the last word on that one,
All
ladies and
right. I'm with it.
gentlemen. Tariq has spoken.
You
Nope, I
heard
love
me.
it. That's good therapy. Free therapy for everybody in this moment. But if they want to just, talk to you beyond this conversation, of course, everyone is free to comment as much as possible on this page. But you can contact Tariiq Omari Walton directly. He's a licensed family relationship coach,
Therapist.
therapist.
Yep. Mhm.
So tell people the best way to get in touch with you. They want
All
some
right.
therapy.
You can always look me up on psychologytoday.com, and you can find a list of great therapists there as well. But if you want to reach me directly, you can go to insightmft.com, or you can also find me at viewsandvibes.com. That's my media page, and you'll see all the connections there as well. Or on social media, you can find me at Tariiq Omari Walton. Just that simple.
And the podcast?
And the podcast is Kings of the Heart. You can find it at kingsoftheheart.com. We stream on all different platforms, and we're also live streaming as well. So you can find that both on our Facebook page, Kings of the Heart, as well as our YouTube page.
Ooh, I love it. Keep on rolling. Every time I talk to you, you've got something new going on, which I absolutely
I've learned from you. I learned from you on this platform.
yes.
You are my mentor.
Pillow talk forever.
Yes, please.
Yes. Tariiq, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have you back again soon. But
I appreciate that, Angela. It's always a great time to be with you.
Thank you. I feel the same way. Chock full of really good information.
Hey, I try.
We appreciate you.
Take care.
That's Tariiq Omari Walton. Make sure you follow him. And I'm serious about this. Anyone who is looking for therapy, I mean, there's no shame in it. In fact, I think people should be applauded for taking that extra step and investing in your relationship and, calling a real licensed professional. So he told you every way to get in touch with him. Make sure you do. And you can also connect with him on social media. I know I do. And that's at Tariiq Omari Walton, or just Google him. That'll give you everything you need to do. He's all over Google. Thank you again for watching Pillow Talk with Angela. While you're following people on social media, make sure you follow us too. That's at Angela Stribling or at Pillow Talk with Angela on all platforms. Have a great night. Bye.